Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas, and it's February 7th, and it's 2022. And this is one of the sites on the screen here that I do like to check. Colt Clark and his quarantine kids. He was a musician, and before the vaccine thing, or before the virus, and like I don't know much about him, but if I'm wrong, well then I'm wrong. He was playing little uh, taverns or little venues or something like that, and I'm sure he's making making a little bit of money, making some good money maybe. He's really talented. What's interesting is how talented his three kids are, how smart they are. Uh, the things they pick up or whatever. I've seen some videos of him teaching them something, uh, an instrument or something really interesting. But when this virus hit, uh, I think the story is that his wife, uh, made some videos of him and the kids playing music and sent it to family, and then family, I guess, uploaded it to YouTube and different places, and then bang, and now this video here, which was from March 10th, I'm not even sure I know how high those numbers are. Is that good grief, let's see, okay, hundreds, thousands. I guess that's 1,425,259 or something views. He's got 73, thumbs up. So, and the social blade thing here next to it's not 100% accurate, but it's gives you a little bit of idea. Uh, it's estimated that uh, his monthly income from YouTube is between $404 a month and 6,500. So that's quite a range. Um, and then, of course, he could have some other things going on, like his one son there. He got a donation from a uh, musical instrument company of an expensive and good quality drum set, and they've gotten some other instruments and things like that. So anyway, I think they're doing okay now. Uh, so I'll get a copyright, of course. Let me pop up to a more current thing, because I wanted to show you something. He added, which I kind of a turn off. His screen used to be like this, and let me show you. Let's see. Go to their site now, and here's 3 days ago. Let me click on this.
Hey everybody, we're the Clark family and we're going to sing Boogie Shoes. One, two, three.
He added all this stuff, of course. Clark family, whatever it says there, the Clark family creative, copyrighted material, and some people do that, but he, of course, this is all fairly new to him. It's a little, I think, a little too much, a little too heavy, but I'm going to play a little bit of it. Of course, it'll be I'll mark it as not for that I'm not trying to make any money from, which I don't get anyway. But anyway. Anyway, I've seen a couple over in UK, and I think they either have 3 kids older, or maybe they have 4. I can't remember now, and they're just not doing as much, as Mr. Clark is. And I watched a few of their videos. Of course, my hearing is not good at all. I had some type of ear infection or something when I was in first grade school, and the one ear hurt like hell. Hurt like hell. In those days, a lot of people, we had a doctor, family doctor, who made house calls, and he wouldn't show up sometimes for several days. And when he did show up for my ear, which was really hurting, he said, well, if I'd have got here sooner, I would have had to lance it or something. And I thought, oh, I'm so glad you didn't get here sooner, And then in the second grade, which kind of surprised me because it was a Catholic school, in the second grade, so I don't know how they came up with them, must have been offered by the city or something, which, or maybe there's somebody, I don't know. Anyway, they gave hearing tests to us in school. And that's the only time in my life I ever tried to copy. I mean, we're talking through all the rest of the years and through going to community college or whatever. I just never tried to copy. And, but there I was in the second grade in the library, all of us sitting around in the library table, whatever, and a machine hooked up. I was having headphones on, and I can't remember now if it was a nun that was doing it or if they had actually somebody that knew what they were doing, But the kids were all, marking down at a certain point or something, or doing something. And I didn't hear anything, and so I wasn't marking anything down. And so finally I was looking over, there was a girl sitting next to me, and I was going to try to copy her, and she pulled her sheet over and put her hand over it. And, as a second grader or whatever, I thought, why are you, why are you covering up a hearing test, My parents, they sent something home from school, and even it was like sort of a computer-generated thing, graph and everything. And even I could look at that and know, hey, this is not good. Gave it to my parents. I flunked the second grade, so I had to do the second grade over, so I ended up going again for the hearing test, and they sent a thing home to my parents, and it looked the same. And my parents never, did anything about it. Now, when I needed glasses, I mentioned that one time, basically I was with some friends, and we were walking to go someplace, and we were looking for a certain street, let's say Garfield, and one of the kids with me said, no, that's not Garfield, that's Brooklyn. And I was like, and then they did it for like the next street or something. Finally, I said, can you see the street sign from here? He says, they all said, yeah, we can see it. And so then I said, okay, tell me when you can see it, so we were walking, and then they all sounded out, and then we keep walking, and then I got up close to the sign, and then I could see the sign, after, and went home and told my parents, I need glasses, and they said, okay. My dad, I think, said, okay, you got to wear them, and I put them on, and, wore glasses for the rest of my life. I'm not sure why my parents, it was not a matter of money. I mean, we weren't wealthy or anything. I'd say we were middle class. But I really totally forgot about my hearing problem. And I don't think well, whatever grade when you get to a certain grade, they're teaching you how to sound out words, and so you know how to spell them and whatever else. And I was watching, sitting there in the class and watching the kids, and they were doing this thing, and it did not make any sense to me. They were saying, words, and then there was more to it that I couldn't, because I couldn't, it just didn't. So I just stopped paying attention to that. Uh, when, say, fifth grade, sixth grade, okay, I went to Catholic school, and at that time they stopped it after that, but the Catholic diocese didn't have a junior high. They didn't have a junior high a school or anything. So what the Catholic school did, what our school did, St. Vincent's, when you took the sixth grade, there was the sixth and seventh grade, 1 year, and they didn't do anything different. But I flunked grade school. I flunked the fifth and the sixth and seventh grade. I flunked it. So they sent me over to Rockhurst High School during the summer because I was not a good speller. It didn't even occur to me then that I wasn't a good speller. I knew I was a bad speller. One time our class, I forget what year it was, we walked over to another Catholic school to have a spelling thing against it, and so I was up on we were up on the stage or whatever, and I was first for some reason, and they asked me to spell a word, and I actually spelled it correct, and my class, they applauded and cheered, and these other kids from the other school, whichever it was, I think they were like, why this kid spelled a real easy word, and his class was, and then of course when the next word came up, I tried to spell it, and they had me sit down. That was, but I don't think I even really realized then that my problem was hearing. But I got sent to summer school for grade school, and I think I was the only one that got sent to summer school. Went over there, and the nun who was in charge of the class, she said, if you can't spell, it's because you can't read. And I thought, no, I don't know that, because no, that's not true, I thought. And because I read every book we read, everything, they had it timed out or something, and then you got a score, or you knew what your reading score was when you finished it or something. And I think my score was probably higher than the teacher, the nun who was teaching it. I had no trouble reading at all. Probably because I was in grade school getting ready to go to high school, and I ordered in books from the government printing office, sort of like the internet or whatever. And I ordered in books on an awful lot of, books on field manuals for the military and other things. And I was into civil defense, the Ground Observer Corps, all kinds of things. And when I went to high school, a military high school, that makes it sound like I was rich, but no. There was De La Salle Military Academy, and there was like Rockhurst, which was a high school, and they then had a college there, taught by the Jesuits, and that's where the kids who had money, that's where they went, and the kids who were the boys, who were maybe troublesome or something, and the parents wanted to instill some discipline in them or something, they went to De La Salle Military Academy, and that's where that's where I went. But I didn't study any. I didn't. Well, when we'd get the new books for I would flip through the pages and look at it. If I saw something interesting, I would read it, and then I'd put the book away. Well, I wouldn't put it away. I took it every year for 4 years. Every day. I took my books home with me, and I never opened them up at home. Why I took them home, I do not know. And all 4 years for the high school, I went to summer school. And for the graduation, I didn't get a diploma until I completed summer school that summer, after the graduation. And I'm not sure how many others were like me. Maybe, well, I wasn't the only one because there was always. I went to summer school. Oh, if you had to go to summer school, you could attend the graduation, but you'd get a blank piece of paper in the folder, whatever that they gave you, and or you could just stay home. And I just stayed home. So I went down to the Army recruiter to enlist, because that's why I went to De La Salle Military Academy. I wanted, one of the things too you got with your diploma, you got a piece of paper or something that you could turn in with when you went in the military or when you were drafted or whatever. You could turn that in, and you moved up one pay grade when you finished the basic training because of that. What I heard later on, which I didn't know, was that also people who were Eagle Scouts, they also had the same privilege, that if you were an Eagle Scout, which is pretty neat, not that I ever became an Eagle Scout, but pretty neat, that would be a little perk. You're going in the military and you're with your fellow recruits or whatever, and you become an E2 or something instead of an E1 or whatever, however it works, But anyway, I went down to enlist, and they were going through the list of everything, asking you questions, health and that kind of thing. I said, the only thing, I said, I'm a little bit underweight. He says, yeah, you look underweight. He says, how much do you weigh? And I told him. And then he pulled out a manual and flipped it open. He says, you're 40 pounds under the minimum weight requirement. And I said, I didn't know you had a minimum weight requirement. Because I didn't say this, the rest of it, but I thought, that the military would, make a man out of you or whatever. But so then I went to real estate school, and I graduated real estate school, and I didn't want to be in real estate. And then my father paid for me to go to welding school in Cleveland, Ohio, Lincoln Electric Company. And I came back, and then I, started working as a welder and boilermaker, and I built railroad cars, I built trucks, I built gigantic trucks. I worked in the body shop there, KW Dart Truck Company. But I never did anything about I was working, had a job, good pay. See here a second. Let's go over here. Give you a little variety or something here, right? I need to make this where I have the ability to bring it up full screen, my picture full. So I haven't done that yet. Right now I'm worrying about the audio. Oh, I've had a little audio problem. If you saw the video that was released earlier today, I hope you were laughing about it, but it shows you. Anyway, I never thought anything about my hearing. I never had it checked. I never ever had it checked. By the way, having a type of hearing problem that I have, the worst place that I should have been working is any place that Boilermakers or that they work. I think the Boilermakers Union was instrumental in discovering that noise, injures your hearing. I forget exactly how much they were responsible for discovering that loud noises, Anyway, so after a few years, or a couple years, or 1 or 2 years, I got a notice from the Selective Service Committee that I needed to go and have a physical done. So I went down. There was 200 of us. We all got naked. And so we're all 200 of us standing there. And the doctor, like there's 200, and he's looking at me, and he comes through, he passes up the guys that were the football players and all that kind of stuff. And he comes up to me and he says, "Have you been sick?" And I said, "No." "Have you been in the hospital? Did you get out?" "No, And then he went back. So they ran us through the test and did all this kind of stuff. And for the hearing, now when I saw that, I thought, that's the first time in all those years. I think they had somebody behind a door. This is not headphones or anything like that. Somebody was behind the door, I think, and said a number or something, let's say 7. I go up there and I hear 7, And so I went home. Okay, I'm lying to you. Everybody else went home. 199 of them at noon, they went home. Some of those big football players and whatever, they fainted when they had their blood drawn. But 199 of them went home. Who do you think didn't get to go home? Me. Because they wanted me to urinate in a cup. 199 urinated in the cup. I couldn't do it. I said, "Can I go across the street to the Union Station and get a Coke and then come back?" No, you can't do that. So, no urine. It was about 4 o'clock or something, coming close to 4 o'clock or something. Or maybe it was 5 o'clock, and these people had to go home. And I said, "Can I go across it?" And they said, "Yes." I went across, had a drink of Coke, came back, pissed in the thing, and went home. So then, I got through the mail a letter informing me that, with a card, I believe, that I was 1A and for the draft, to go in the military. So I went over to the recruiting office for the Army, went in, and I didn't realize how the whole system worked, I didn't know it was like a contract. I didn't know that you could pick and choose if you could. I knew there was like a few things, like you could go in with your buddy, and maybe you'd go to the same place if you both, whatever there was a few things like that. I didn't know that the recruiter said, "Well, we need teletype repair people." And I said, "That's it?" He says, "Yeah, that's it." I doubt that was it, And I said, "Okay, well, sign me up for it." And I said, I'm a little pissed. I want to make a career out of the military, and I was down here 2 years ago, or a year or whatever it was. I think it was 2 years, 2 years. And I said, I was turned down because I was under the weight thing. And he says, yeah, you do look thin. And he said, just a second. And then he called over to that medical place where the testing was done, and they pulled out the file. And I guess they didn't look at, I guess they looked at certain things, but then they looked at height and weight. Yeah, he's 40 pounds under minimum weight requirement. We'll send him a new card, 1Y. So that was the end of me going, it's really a good thing. Well, there was no way that my hearing was so bad that, I don't think you could go in with a hearing aid anyway, and I don't think they could have got my hearing good enough that. Now, during World War II, my father had 6 or 7 brothers. They were all in the military, and one of them, he only had one eye. The kids were playing on the bed or whatever and bouncing around, and a pair of scissors came up, and he was blind, but he served in the military. So that was the end of my going into the military. But I continued working as a welder and went through a number of, worked for the post office. When I got married, my wife and I, we had a tropical fish shop for 4 years. We had a patrol service for a year. I worked hospital security for 30 years. On and on. But I never had the hearing. But then, of course, I realized that at some point I realized that my hearing was a real problem. Well, one thing, I love tech stuff, all that kind of stuff, and when they little LED, who was a big manufacturer, the wristwatch, they had like an alarm on it. I could not hear the alarm. If I put it next to my ear, I could not hear the alarm. With the walkie-talkies working security, if I was in a stairwell, because of the bouncing around of the thing, I wouldn't be able to hear. So I did a lot of climbing of stairs. I wouldn't want to be on the stairwell and have somebody call, need assistance, help, or whatever the code was or something. And like this one hospital I worked at, security was all there was at night. Other than nurses and a doctor and whatever, there was no maintenance men or anything like that. So, and it was a new hospital, and the furnace the boiler would go out. The fire would go out. So they put in a loud alarm right outside the plant operations door. And I'd be in the ER, and the doctor and the nurses would be working and somebody else, and everybody, finally I got where they'd be, looking around or whatever. And then sometimes I'd say, what's going on? And then it got where they knew, then they'd say, Jim, the alarm's going off. And so I would leave the emergency room, not hearing anything, not hearing an alarm, walk halfway through the ground floor of the hospital, and when I got to the door of the plant operations, then I could hear the alarm going off. And I'd go in and start the boiler up. Never went to the doctor. So I can't blame my parents for not, I don't know why they Anyway, I've mentioned this a few times over the years. I don't think anybody's ever answered me. I never called my father or dad, or my mother, mom, or anything like that. I called my dad Jim, and I called my mother Betty. And not sure why. I mean, I undoubtedly the reason is why is that's what I heard them calling each other when I. But let's see, I have been talking for 31 minutes, and I'm going to have to listen to this entire video to make sure that at some point the audio didn't go out on me, or worse, the dreadful, terrible sound that it makes. But in order for me to check it out, I've got to listen to myself talking for 31 minutes. I'm going to stop here because I got to listen to this to make sure it's okay before I can upload it. And I think it's going to be okay. I'm using the wavelength microphone. The Blue Yeti is it's a good microphone, but when I plug this thing in, it's USB. When I plug it in, multiple places in the software, this will. I wonder if I could pull this up. Let's try this. It won't be. I'm not going to hook. I'm not going to do anything that's going to. I better not do that. I think this audio is working for me. I better not go to the audio settings. What I was going to show was that what I was going to show is that all the settings, there's like 15 or 20 things where it'll say different things having to do with audio, and this thing will be listed. The thing will be listed with every one of these things, and with the Wave 3, it's listed 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 places or whatever. It'll show up like when the thing is speaker, it'll show up as a speaker. It's not a speaker, it's a microphone only. But it shows up with these, but with the Blue Yeti, my God, it's... So anyway, I'm going to upload this after I check it. Then I'm going to come in here and, unless I decide to take a nap, change this so I can get full screen video. So I have a choice, I can be talking and I can have myself full screen, and then other times have this working or whatever. Well, let me go ahead and do this. Let's see, where do I want to go? Okay, I want to go to settings. So we have display, sound. Okay, let's go here to sound. Okay, well look, this is doing it basically to what I was telling you about. So you have the LG Ultra HD monitor. That is actually where I'm getting my sound, because there's a 3.5 jack on my Windows 11 computer here, but that won't work. Or it would work. You would hear audio with, you know, crackling sound. Not bad. Not as bad as the last video. But, let's see here. Let's see here, okay. Where to play the music. Wavelength music, Wavelength Auxiliary 2, headphones, which is the Agato Wave 3, the Wavelength SFX, the Wavelength browser, the Wavelength chat, the Wavelength game, and so forth and so on. Now, actually, with the Blue Yeti, you have more than that to, you know, to pick from. So, keep it simple. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. My arthritis is bugging me. I've got to take a naproxen. Oh God, it's 6:38 p.m. I haven't taken my morning medication, and I haven't taken my night medication. I'm going to add, though, a naproxen for pain. So I'll be taking that here in a minute. Okay, thank you very much for watching.